Okay, so I got your message and I figured I would just do a video. This would be a little bit more helpful with just revising this and giving you feedback. All right, so besides the issue that you're having with the text wrap, I did want to address that. And I also wanted to address a few other things that I saw going on in here so that you can go forward and, just push this even more forward than and be more effective. So the first thing that I noticed is your type size is very, very large. So let's go ahead and look at your body copy type size. 16, that's way too big. You don't want to go beyond, you don't want to, 12 is actually kind of big too. I would suggest doing like a 10 point by 14 point leading. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cancel this out. I'm going to unclick this and double click on your body copy again. And I'm going to change this to be 10 points by 14 points. That's fine. Excuse me. And then while I'm in here, I'm going to go to indents and spacing, and I'm going to give an indent for the first line. So right here where it says first line indent, I'm going to go ahead and click that. Don't go beyond 0.125. That should be big, big enough. So you're getting your indents now. Your copy looks better at this size. Remember, this is going to be kind of like a magazine. So it's going to be read from like 8 inches from your face. So it doesn't have to be that big as far as the body copy. The next thing I noticed is you have a border around your headline. You want to get rid of that border. So if you click on that and you go to your, I guess it's paragraph, I think you could change this to none. Go ahead and take that off completely. You don't want that there. And then because the lines aren't quite lining up, you want that first line of that first column to line up with the second column. And that's not happening because you have a space here. So go ahead and take your text type tool and click right in front of the word as and hit delete. And that's going to delete that space in there that's preventing you from getting this aligned. And then what I would do is just go ahead and pull this down a little bit so you're gaining some of your lines here, not just one line. That would be considered an orphan. Another thing that I noticed is your baselines are not aligning. You see this bottom line here, the first column is not aligning with the second. So that tells me that your baselines are not aligned. So I'm going to go ahead again and double click on my your body copy style. And I'm going to go to, excuse me, indents and spacing, and where it says align to grid, we want to make sure do all lines. Okay. And we already know if we go back here that our leading is set to 14. So we're going to click OK. And you can see it's way too spread out. So we need to change the grid for that, which is in your preferences. So go up to your InDesign on your menu bar, choose preferences, and we want to choose grids. Where it says increment every, we want to change this to the size of your leading. So 14 point and click OK. That's going to reset that. And now all of your baselines are going to align very nicely across each of your columns. And then just pay attention to any weird breaks. Like for instance, this here, you want to fix that. How I would do that is just do a shift return in front of the word keep there. That kind of bumps everything down nicely. And then I probably would pull this whole box up so that it's kind of the bottom baseline is above that purple margin. Okay. And then, don't forget, we need a headline for your newsletter. So I'm going to pull this down even more. This is the headline for your article. We need a headline for your newsletter too. So we're going to pull this all down. So we have space. And it looks like, let's pull this down a little bit more. We have some room here. Looks like you have an extra space here. So we're going to delete that. It looks good. Okay. All right. So then what I would suggest is, using an image. So you could use this with this article, but I would change the top here to be more of like a header. So I would pull this down so it's part of the article. And I would probably take off the let's see, where's properties? Get your properties panel up. I would probably take off the effect that you have here just because it makes it look a little dated. So go ahead and take off all of those effects. Go ahead, take them off completely. And then your bleeds are kind of set wrong. Go to File, Document, Setup, set your bleeds to be a little bit bigger. I would do like 0.5. 0.5, okay? And then what you'll do is just take that to the bleed. And I know you had a rounded corner on here, but I think it would be a little bit more modern looking if you had, you know, just it bleeding off the four sides there, okay? So the trim view, let me show you how it would look, would be like that, okay? So you can see that it's like the start of the article. You can always bring this image in, but you do need something up here, which, you know, you could always do a full bleed of one of the images provided. Let's go ahead and try to find your, try to find these images here. We are in 3. That's right. Get my weeks messed up here. Images. So maybe this image right here would be a good one. And I'm going to go to Object, Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionally. That'll take it all the way so that, you know, it'll bleed off and it just looks really nice, real professional as far as a header for your newsletter. Remember, this is a newsletter. Typically newsletters, if you look them up, they'll have a header. Now, if this is too dark, say you're going to put, you will have to make up a name for this. That's your job. So let's do, I'm going to pull this to the margin here and margin there. And let's just do like designer forum newsletter. Just make something up. And then obviously we want to create a new paragraph style. We're going to name this newsletter headline or name masthead. Let's just name it that. Let's just go with, I think you did Gill Sands. Let's go really big. And what we don't want here is we don't want the grid aligned to grid here for this one, because that's going to affect the way that your spacing is. That's just for body copy. So just kind of remember that. So we're going to pull this up. And then maybe what we're going to do is we're going to make this maybe all caps and center align. Just kind of give it a different look here. All caps, center align. Now we can adjust the lighting again. You know, make it bigger, smaller, whatever you decide to do. Let's go take us back to 72. And then just pay attention to the breaks. So I'm going to make this break a little bit better here. I might have to make this a little smaller so that newsletter fits in there. There, perfect. And I'm going to adjust the, again, the leading, which is this line spacing. Actually, I could probably have designers form newsletter like that. You get a little bit bigger. No break like that. That's actually better. So this should be, you know, have the most emphasis because it's the name of the newsletter. So have that kind of spaced up here. If it's hard to read, what you could do is give this an opacity. So you would hold, select the image in the background, go to your properties panel, go to opacity, and you can dial this down, excuse me, I can say, tongue twisted, down, I would say probably, I did like 30%. And then I'm going to go ahead and go up to object, arrange, send to back. And if it looks too weird here where it meets, I would just pull this up Perfect. And what you could do is you could simply just do a simple thin black line here, not something huge, just something to kind of, you know, divide up the space here so that you can kind of see that it's a different part. So this is the article that goes with this copy, and this is the masthead of your newsletter. Okay. Oh, this looks like it's not centered. Hold on one second. Let me bring my guides back. Just make sure this is centered on your margins. And then again, if you need to, I'm going to make this a little smaller so it fits in here a little bit better. There, perfect. Good. Okay. And just remember, you'll be placing in here your table of contents for the second part. So you're going to probably need somewhere over here, you know, a space available. And that's kind of like a real world challenge that I'm giving to you guys as far as fitting that in. Now, what you can do is just go ahead and pull your image in here. Just make sure you're showing a little bit more of this. I would take off any type of effects again. I think that, I mean, a drop shadow is okay. Just keeping it simple is the key here. And I would, you know, you could play around with the position, but now we want to put a text wrap. So window, where's our text wrap? Right here. And what we want to do, we're just going to go ahead and do wrap around bounding box. Because we really don't want the type to come up next to your shape. It would be hard to read. All right, and then just go ahead and position this so that, you know, everything looks smooth and looks good. Okay. Again, second page, you're going to do the same thing. You could even just delete that and just bring this shape over, if that helps. It's a little hard to read the smaller copy on this color. So maybe what you'll do is for this page, just kind of have it as an accent. So what I would do is just have it bleed off the left, the top, and the bottom, but not so much where your copy is. You can always pull this copy box in and kind of make it work up here. And, you know, maybe try bleeding this image off completely. I'm going to kind of resize it to this. And I'm going to bring this in actually even more just because we need that space. So pull that back out to your margin guide. And, you know, you can kind of pay attention to see if you need space, but that looks pretty good. Then I would fix any weird spacing issues going on here. It looks like there's a spacing issue there. And then any pull this in a little bit so it's on your guide. Okay, so this page, what I would do is just go up to margins and columns and just do like a 1 column for this one. That way you don't have any of those weird lines. And then we could pull that in a little bit. Actually doesn't look too bad. If you want to do like a corner edge here, just because you did it, you know, on that shape, you could do that as well. Completely up to you. Let's see. There we go. Go to round it in your properties and you can reset that. And it's just easier to read. Everything flows really nicely. Okay. Then you have the connection of the color, but it's not getting away. And you could do the same thing here. You could actually pull this up so it's just hitting maybe the headline as far as like the color box, just because it is kind of a little hard to read because the hue of that background color is so dark. So, you know, maybe try, oops, what am I doing? Don't move that. Move your sorry, your headline up more. Move your box up a little bit more. Doing this box. You know, make sure it's evenly spaced. And that way it's just a little easier to read. And then just make sure everything is aligned on your bleeds. You could even center align this. If it's a paragraph style, we'll want to set that. Oh, there's your border again. We want to get rid of that. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. Let's do center align. Let's get rid of your border. And that breaks nicely above there. Okay, so that would be your first and your second page. Okay, so this should be a completely different article. Okay, so this should be treated exactly like this, but maybe look a little different with your, so we'll hit body copy, with your elements. So maybe the color changes on this, you know, instead of blue and how you have it, maybe it's set to another color. Pull this out. Of course, we want to change this to at least 2 or 3 text frame options, columns. Let's do 3 for this one just to see. Here we go. Perfect. And then what you'll do is go ahead and select just this top line because that's going to be your headline. Copy it, paste it in here. And we're going to do header on that. Everything else looks good. You could put in, you know, I don't think you really need this. I know you talked about putting a text wrap on there. And I just think it's kind of an odd shape. I think we could do something better with some images. It looks like you selected the wrong text wrap. So the text wrap would be the second one here on this object. And it looks like we're going to bring the front. There we go. It was actually sent to back of your text, so that's why it wasn't being affected. And if you wanted to go around the shape, you would just choose the wraparound object. But I'm just going to eliminate this because I think what we can do is something a little bit more creative. So let's go ahead and check out something that we can do with this, with our images. And again, we can bleed it off on all sides. There we go. And maybe we do this image, object, fitting, fill frame, proportionate. You know, and then maybe this color is represented here for the headline. So what I mean by that is take your eyedropper tool. Let's go eyedropper. And select anywhere in here, maybe this gray type of a color, and we're going to get rid of your stroke. We don't want a stroke. Keep it simple. Arrange, send to back. There we go. Center in there. That looks good. So we have your headline. Everything's aligning here. It looks really good. And then what we'll do is just go ahead and do a text box here. And just make sure that this links to this box. So the overflow goes in there. So now, you know, you can add in more images. Obviously we want to set your subheads. We don't have that set, so that's going to bump some things. And, you know, the things that should change with your second article is, you know, just the elements, the colors, for instance. Everything else, like the body copy, should stay the same. And you know, you could keep the subheads the same. I think that's a nice way to, I'm going to bump this because I have a weird break here, to kind of keep it consistent. That looks good. And then we could just bring this down. The headline should go with the article. It should be closer to the article itself. We don't want too much of a space, so we're going to bring this down so we have room. We're going to go to send it back. Perfect. So this is what this looks like so far. I'm going to go to preview. It's going to trim it. Oops. So this is the first page. This is the second page. And you're going to have to go back and set your page numbers correctly using your parent pages, how I showed you in the demo. And then this is that was the first article. This is the second article. And then you can continue it on the back here. Don't forget, you know, to add a pull quote within somewhere in here. And, you know, any kind of weird, you know, just pay attention to your breaks, pay attention to your spacing, go back and revise, and just take this feedback as something that you can rewind, go slower, go back, rewind, and just do the steps that I did to get this where it needs to be. Okay, good luck.